If you've come to this review looking for the perspective of an arcane aficionado or immersive sim specialist, I'm sorry to say that's just not really me. Up until now, these games have been artifacts I've admired from afar, something the cool kids played. Specifically, I would look at the stuff people pulled off in Dishonored and Prey, think it all looked really cool, give the games a go, and the friction of getting to that proficiency would just spit me back out again. But through its clever and simplified design, Deathloop has let me, a lowly, flat-thumbed wretch, achieve those dizzying heights and given me the confidence to go back and really enjoy those previous games. In Deathloop, you play as Colt. Colt has lost his memories, but he discovers he's trapped in a time loop on the Isle of Blackreef. Whilever the loop continues, you can't leave. You quickly learn the only way to end this is to kill all 8 visionaries in a single day's loop. The visionaries are the elite scientists, artists and bureaucrats that set this loop up, but fortunately for you, they don't retain their memories between loops. Except for one. Juliana, the only seemingly capable resident of the island who wants to stop you. Throughout your time-bending journey, you'll visit and explore the island's 4 districts across multiple times of day, killing these pompous assholes over and over until you can work out how to do it in all one fell loop. The abilities in Deathloop are standard arcane fare. In fact, they've all appeared in some form in previous games, but they're the most direct of all Arcane's abilities. I can summarize each of them in just a few words. Shift, short range teleport. Havoc, do more and receive less damage. Nexus, do to one, do to all. Carnesis, Bethesda ragdoll physics attached to your hand. Ether, people can't see you. The weapons are similarly direct in their function. I knew how they all worked and how I should probably utilize them after the first pull of the trigger. And what a great pull of the trigger it was. Some of them are a bit kooky and fun, like the dual-wielding pistols that can lock together into a burst rifle, while others are chest-rumblingly effective, like the gut-punching shotguns or thunderous sniper rifle. And there isn't a lack of customization here either. There are a bunch of really fun modifiers you can slap on Colt weapons and your abilities. These upgrades and trinkets tweak the experience to how you like to play and make you noticeably more powerful as you unlock them. For example, slapping the influence upgrade on the Carnesis slab and seeing a courtyard full of enemies drop from a single bolt entirely changed the way I approached pretty much every situation. Ultimately, the mechanics of Deathloop are expansive, simple, and malleable enough that in every given scenario I felt that I could concoct a solution all of my own, and the game would play ball, whether that be a stealth situation, guns blazing, or in the transition between the two. Deathloop wanted me to succeed, opening as many doors to me as it could, and even smiling encouragingly when I ignored them all and burst through the wall instead. But of course, this flexibility and tactility has been largely true in Arcane games since Dishonored. It is the framing, world, and play conditioning that truly sets this game apart, and in the end, unlocked this entire genre for me. The reason people can do the stuff in Dishonored I talked about at the beginning of this video is because they've played that game over and over, mastering the abilities, environments, and enemy behavior. They're also probably pretty good at games. Unfortunately, I am neither good at games nor in possession of the patience to play the same game over and over. This game handles both of these problems for me, tackling my gaming inadequacy through a sort of surgical simplification. You can only have 2 abilities equipped at a time. The enemies are definitely dumber than they were in previous Arcane games, although having just finished Dishonored, I do think that's probably been a little exaggerated in the coverage for this game, while the more action-oriented gameplay is inherently more forgiving, particularly because there is no chaos mechanic guilting you for going loud. Furthermore, it tackles my problemed patience through its structure. The repetition that eventually leads to mastery is baked into this game. You visit the same locations over and over, building a better understanding of your routes through them, enemy positioning, and the little tricks that make navigating them fun. And as that's happening, you're also unlocking new upgrades to your skill set, learning how to effectively utilize them, and just getting more powerful. This all resulted in an incredibly satisfying sense of acceleration in my play. I began by plodding my way through levels, slowly scoping out every area and watching how enemies behave. But by the end, I'm sprinting through the environment, and not just because I know I can kill any enemy that dares challenge me, but because I can slide behind an enemy just at the right moment, knowing that they aren't going to turn around because I've done this route so many times, and I know the paths I can go without ever being detected. Of course, designing a game that is fun to play in this repetitive fashion is a challenge in of itself. Fortunately, Arcane have nailed this particular hurdle, and they've done it in a 3-wheeled Reliant Robin. Wheel 1, environment design. There are technically only 4 environments in Deathloop, but there are 4 times of day for each of those, so let's be generous and say 16 levels. I never, even after visiting them dozens of times, got fed up with a single one. They are complex enough that until you've really spent time in them, you need to slow down and peel back the layers. And when you've spent all that time, I often found little areas or paths that I hadn't seen before. They also gate particular sections for specific tasks and targets, meaning there's this sort of level nested within a level feel. Also, you know how in immersive sims, there are always multiple ways to solve a problem, whether that is getting around an enemy or whatever. But of course, you only get to see one of these solutions because you've solved it. Well, you're going to solve that problem multiple times from multiple angles in Deathloop, so you end up trying different methods. So instead of only being confronted with that single slice of the design, Deathloop allows you to sample the whole environmental and gameplay design pie and appreciate it in its totality. So you never feel bored of an area, because if you come across the same problem again, you can either tackle it really quickly in a way you've done before, or mix it up and try something new. And there's always a new environmental puzzle to solve, a little narrative nugget to discover. And that takes us to wheel number 2, story. This is a game that is much more interested in past events than the current plot. Discovering the mystery of the island, the visionaries, and your relationship to both is a captivating main driving narrative component, and there is no section of the game untouched by it. The characteristics of the visionaries are projected out into their surroundings, like the narcissistic decadence of Charlie's role-playing castle. Then there's little touches, like Alexis's username is AlphaWolf69, which I simply cannot think of something more revealing about someone's inner inadequacies than that choice of username. Even the abilities their slabs bestow give you some insight into who they are as people. For example, Igor's slab turns him invisible, and you know exactly what that means about him as a character without me really having to say much at all. On top of this, every performance is delightfully over the top, particularly Colt and Juliana. These are the central characters of the game, and their adversarial banter forms a rhythm that leads the rest of the storytelling. The writing is impeccable, and Colt and Juliana's performances consistently slapped a smile on my face. The only thing you could really complain about is when she insists on killing you. And that brings us to the 3rd and final wheel of our little Reliant Robin, Juliana Invasions. Whenever you're exploring a level, regardless of what you're up to in it, there's a chance that Juliana could turn up and try to hunt you down. This could be an NPC Juliana or an online player. I end up spending a Sunday afternoon invading other players as Juliana. It was fun, and on those occasions where I managed to completely ruin a cult's run, there's definitely a sort of dastardly satisfaction. But the thing that's cool about Invasions is the wrench it throws into your normal time when playing as Colt. Actually fighting an enemy just as capable as you is a great change of pace, and just her presence is enough to keep you from falling into a routine for each level. I don't necessarily think Deathloop is the best Arcane game. Since finishing it, I've finally wrapped up Dishonored, and I'm working my way through Prey as we speak, and there are things I much prefer about those games, but I never would have played them if it wasn't for Deathloop. There's often this sort of malaise with the mainstream in gaming culture, and if I'm honest, I do get it. But sometimes a genre needs an on-ramp for people like me, and Deathloop is an impeccably smooth on-ramp. I loved every moment of it, and now I'm gorging myself on Arcane games and fervently digging my way through the immersive Sims tag on Steam. Deathloop has opened a genre that was previously closed to me, and that is why it's so good. If you liked Deathloop, I think you might like Mark of the Ninja. So here's my video on it, and if you'd like a new game recommendation every other Sunday, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.